Okay, this is the third week. I'm going to talk a little bit about Chapter 7 and monopolies to help you out with some of your homework. Not a lot of true monopolies anymore, but there's one monopoly I encounter every so often. It's when I go to the movie theater. And once I buy my ticket, I walk inside, and if I want to buy popcorn, there's only one place to buy it. So the cinemas have a monopoly on popcorn purchases or any other refreshments for that matter. They have a monopoly because you can't purchase it anywhere else. Now, can they charge whatever they want to for the popcorn? Sure they can, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to buy the popcorn at $100 a bucket. And there may be some popcorn lovers out there, some wealthy popcorn lovers out there, but they can't just put whatever price and expect to sell anything, because monopolies are subject to the demand curve. And unlike the perfectly competitive firms that we looked at last week, whereas the market, the suppliers and the demanders in a market, in an industry or a market, determine what that equilibrium price is going to be, and then the farmer wakes up in the morning and he checks his price and he says, okay, well, this is the price I've got to sell my catfish at. It's different for a monopoly, because monopoly, they are the market. They are the industry. They are the providers, suppliers, and there is consumers or buyers of the product that are the demanders. So they don't need a market to tell them what their price is, because they are the market, right? So they are subject to the demand curve. So they can go charge whatever price they want to, yes, but they're not necessarily going to get any sales, okay? Now, we've used the word marginal often, and you've read it often. There's marginal utility, there's marginal physical product, there's marginal cost. Now we're going to talk about marginal revenue. And remember, marginal means one more. So the marginal cost is what is the total cost, variable and fixed, to produce one more product. Marginal revenue is the increase in total revenue for the production of one more product. Marginal, one more. For a perfectly competitive firm, remember, they have a flat demand curve, or they can sell 1, or they can sell 7, but their demand curve is flat. So thinking about marginal revenue is kind of really easy, really simple when you got a flat demand curve. Because if you sell one product at $13, what's your total revenue? 13. Well, if you sell 2 products at $13, what's your total revenue? 26. So for one more sale, one more product sold at 13 bucks, your marginal revenue is 13. And if you went from 2 to 3, you'd have 39 in total revenue. And again, your marginal revenue would be 13. So again, the last week, perfectly competitive firm should cease production when the price equals the marginal cost, right? Because you never want your price to be below your cost. You always want your price to exceed, or at least be equal to, marginal cost. Once your marginal cost exceeds your price, then you start to destroy profits. But in this situation, in a perfectly competitive firm, it looks like to me 13, 13. Well, look here, price equals marginal revenue, right? And so since price equals marginal cost, and then we want to stop production where price and marginal cost come together, and price equals marginal revenue, well, we could easily just say, mark out the price and say, we want to stop production where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. And that's also how a monopolist operates. So if you look on page 148 at the very bottom, you see we're dealing with a demand curve that slopes downward. At the very bottom, we're talking about fish again, and a monopolist has a decision to make. He says, well look, because of the demand curve, I could charge a really high price and sell very little, because price and quantity are inversely related. So I could sell 1 ton of fish for $6,000 and my total revenue is $6,000. Or if I drop my price by $1,000, I'm sorry, yes, by $1,000, I could sell 2 tons of fish. 2 times 5 is 2 times 5,000 is 10,000. So rather than my total revenue being 6,000, I could get 10,000. Well, that's better, right? And so the marginal revenue between 1 ton of fish and 2 ton of fish is 4,000. Okay? So hopefully that helps you out. Looking on page 149, we have a chart. I think we're talking about fish still. And there's a demand curve that's created by people that like to buy fish. And that was created for us. And it says, look, you can sell at $13 a pound, you're only going to sell 1 pound. Or you can sell at $12 a pound and you're only going to sell 2 pounds. $11 a pound and you're only going to sell 3 pounds. And so here's our demand curve. 13 at 1, 12 at 2, 11 at 3. And it looks like that. Look on the chart or the table underneath figure 7.1 on page 149, and you'll see that there is it calculates in that 4th column the difference in total revenue as you increase your quantity. So when you increase quantity from 1 to 2, your marginal revenue is 11. And as you increase quantity from 2 to 3, your marginal revenue is 9. And it goes 7, 5, 3 to 1. And it's going to look like that. So here's your demand curve. And here's your marginal revenue curve. Okay? So what? So flip over to page 151. We know monopolists are in business to make money, and so we want to find the optimal output of production that maximizes profitability. So on figure 7.2, we see our marginal cost curve. Well, you remember our marginal cost curve looks like that. And our marginal cost curve is upward sloping because as you increase production, your costs increase. And it really starts to shoot up at some point, again, because even a monopolist has got a capacity that they run into. There are capacity constraints that the monopolist has. And so, going back to our own question, do you ever want to produce something that costs you more than you can sell it for? Well, no, you don't. Nobody wants to do that. And so, when we try to determine the optimal output, what we need to do is find that place where marginal revenue and marginal cost come together. Right here. Marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So that tells us we want to produce at a rate of 4. That's the first thing. That's the first step, is finding where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. And we found that at 4. So what price can we charge for 4? Well, we already know that our demand curve tells us that you can get 4 buyers. You can produce an output of 4 if you price it at, is it 10? Yes. So here's your price at 10. And if you look on figure 7.2, that is at capital D, and the price is 10. Lowercase d is where marginal costs and marginal revenue come together. Okay, so what's our profitability? Well, to know our profitability, you need to know what the average total cost of production is at that level of production, at 4 pounds of fish per hour. Go and look back, and there's a purple bowl-shaped curve. It looks like this, and that's our average total cost. And remember, average total cost is high when you're only producing one, but as you increase your production, the average cost starts to come down, but then it kicks back up again because you start to run into capacity constraints. So what you do is you find, okay, we decided 4 is our optimal output, and at 4 we can charge a price of 10, and it just so happens that at 4 our average total cost is 8. So what's our profit? Well, 10 minus 8 is 2 times 4 equals total profit of $8. Now flip over to page 152. What the chart on figure 7.3 tries to demonstrate is you see graphically the profitability of a monopolist relative to the profitability of the perfectly competitive firm. Do you see the gap between capital D, and on page 152, the gap between capital D and that purple bowl? It's 10 and 8, or $2 times 4 is $8 a share, or $8 profit. Well, look at capital E there. What they've done is they found a place where price and marginal cost come together. The rule over here, right? Where that place where price and marginal costs come together is a price of 9. And that bowl, the purple bowl that dips down at 8. So at a price of 9 and an average cost of 8, you have $1 of profit. And you know what? You have to produce more too. You have to produce 5. So you have a profitability of 5. So the perfectly competitive firm in the situation has to charge more, has to create more and thinner margins than your monopolist gets to charge. They get to produce less at higher prices. They get better margins and they have better profitability. That's why, if you can do it, you want to be a monopolist. You want to create barriers to entry. You want to protect your territory. You want to protect your brand, or you want to protect it through branding or licensing or some other technology or some other way, so that you can preserve those profits.